Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Underground Sound. I'm Emerson.
And I'm Noah.
And today we are back. We have plenty of new music. Our show promo was not recorded.
It was not,
They
sadly.
delayed our meeting. We were given times on when we could do this. I gave them an answer. They then declined.
We have not forgotten this transgression, and we will hold it against the radio station for years to come.
Yes, so that's still in the works. But yeah. So one of the things I was excited for last show and have now been able to experience it is the new Mick Jenkins album, Piece of a Man, that dropped Friday. That was really solid. I would say like typical Mick Jenkins. Nothing special, but certainly worthwhile. However, I wasn't able to find any clean versions of the song since it is brand new. So we're going to deal with one of his wonderfully a little bit older songs, 40 Below, once again by Mick Jenkins.
Let's give it a listen. All right, and up next we have a little song by Odyssey. Now, you may have remembered our little discussions about Odyssey in the past. I believe it was mostly grounded in last spring, but didn't he released an album, right? Or was it an EP, Emerson?
It's been a while. The last thing he released was Iceberg back last year.
Yeah.
I believe it was like halfway through the school year, so it's been a while. He has done a ton of touring. I don't even think he's released any produced things by him because he's similar to Kanye in the fact that he's a producer rapper, not a rapper producer. So he produces a lot of albums on top of what he raps. So I don't really know what he's been up to. I am expecting though something to just come out of the blue within the next like maybe month or two because I feel like we're due for another Odyssey album. It's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all things considered, Odyssey is definitely one of the people who certainly fits the profile of underground sound. Very, very talented, underrated as well. And we've obviously talked about that before. We'll probably discuss it later at some point in time. But right now we have American Greed by Odyssey. So give it a listen.
All right, next up is actually one of my probably all-time favorites. I've been struggling to put him in my top 5 because I think he falls at number 6, maybe 7 on a bad day. But that is Talib Kweli. I was aware of him since maybe 4th, 5th grade. I listened to his one of his earlier albums, and I just absolutely loved his song "Get By," produced by Kanye West. One of my all-time favorite songs, just in general. And I really never dug into him. I just always knew a handful of songs and left it at that. And then it wasn't until just a couple years ago I really went through his entire discography and just absolutely love it. He is truly fantastic. Really one of the pioneers for conscious rap and still makes music today and still better than ever. Honestly, his newest album is actually one of his best he's had in a long time, which is even crazy. So he just keeps getting better. But one of his very earliest albums was a collab with the producer High Tech, and one of their big songs off it was called Blast. So we are going to play it for you today. Once again, Talib Kweli and his song Blast.
All right, and up next we have It's a Vibe by 2 Chainz. A lot of people may know this song becoming a little bit more than a minor hit during the spring of 2017. I remember the first time listening to this song, it was I think it was about 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was just sitting in my friend's car, and I was like, wow, I haven't heard anything from 2 Chainz in a long time. That was good, for that matter. Emerson does not like 2 Chainz. However, I'm a fan. I like his music. It's just how it is. But I remember this was distinctly good, and it was really catchy. And I think that there's a very good laid-back beat, especially to the song. And it's very, very 2 Chainz in a way that kind of shows his versatility. So I really like it a lot. Please give it a listen, and let us know what you think.
All right, so once again, that was 2 Chainz. Little conflicting views between me and Noah on him.
A little conflicting.
A little conflicting.
Only a little.
We'll talk more about that later, maybe in the future. But another one that kind of gets overlooked for his really innovation in the rap game, as well as not totally getting the respect he deserves, I think, is young Jeezy, a.k.a. Jeezy. One of my favorite things about him is when he got older, he took out the young in his name. I cannot tell you how much I enjoy that and how little that is actually done.
That just shows progression as an artist.
That's
all I'm gonna
progression.
say.
That is a way to adapt to the new audience right there. He realized, I'm not young anymore. Let's take it out.
But the question is, will he be old Jeezy or middle-aged Jeezy by a certain point in his life?
I think that's just too far. But yes, he took out the young in his name, but he is still him. He has put out, I would say, a couple classic rap albums. I think he deserves to be one of the greats. That's kind of up in the air as of now. I mean, his career is definitely on the downside. He very rarely releases anything, even though he did release an album, what was it, over the summer, I think, actually?
It was over the summer.
Yeah. So, I mean, he keeps up to date. Definitely not a big impact anymore. I remember when he used to release songs and they just wouldn't get stopped played on the radio, like constantly everywhere. Now he releases stuff and, it's really just within the core fan base and still quality stuff. But yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I actually was very fortunate to see him in concert during his Jeez Fest in Detroit a couple years ago. Noah, you got anything?
I have not seen Young Jeezy at any point in my entire life, but I have given him a little bit of listenership myself. Overall, I agree with most of the things that Emerson says. However, I don't think that he should be up there with one of the greats. I think his work has definitely been something that has gone on for longer than most artists, and I think it's been something that's been iconic, per se. But I don't think necessarily his music in terms of quality or in terms of like staying power necessarily constitutes that. But I feel like for himself, he can be remembered as somebody who definitely added a lot of substance to his craft, and somebody who should be respected. I mean, maybe if we're talking top 200 greats or something like that, but I mean, if we're talking like top 25, probably not.
All right, yeah, not top 20. I'm thinking like maybe top like 30, 35. I think he's around that benchmark.
All right, I could. Top 50 maybe.
Yeah, I think he's around there. Obviously, lyrically, he has some very humorous, in a bad way, lines. One of my personal favorite is "House so big, my room's got rooms." Jeezy does not know what a closet is, ladies and gentlemen. That is a closet. When your room has a room, that is a closet, and he did not know that.
Well, when you're that rich, do you even need to know what closets are? Like, you don't need a closet. You can have a room within inside your room.
A room in a room. So yeah, lyrically, I am well aware of his lack of knowledge, I suppose.
I mean, look, are we going to forgive Lil Yachty for his cello bit going on there? Do you remember that one?
Gosh, I literally just saw that come up again on Twitter. So funny. But yeah, I mean, obviously, lyrically, Jeezy isn't the best. But I mean, he always has a good production value, great with chorus lines. Something I think a lot of rappers struggle with is making a good chorus line. And just simply the amount of bangers. I mean, I cannot tell you how many big hits he has in his entire career. I mean, from top to bottom, he has a pretty extensive list of just, I mean, Way Too Gone. I mean, he's got almost anything off that Thug Motivation, and then not to mention his TM 101 album, and he's just, Seen It All, that whole album. Like, there's just so many great hits he has. But yeah, so in my opinion, probably one of the most underrated songs he has is Talk to Him, once again, by Young Jeezy, off his, I believe it was Thug Motivation 101, his debut album, and one of his most underlooked songs. Once again, Talk to Him by Young Jeezy. All right, so another artist that's kind of making it a little bigger in the industry, kind of moving up in the world, is Saba. Sorry, Noah said something and he's just annoying. Saba debuted with his Bucket List project, was the name of the album, and I thought it was really, really good. It was really a cool concept that I really just thought I was really intrigued by. He got a bunch of different mid-tier celebrities, I guess, to in between songs to say things that are on their bucket list. And these were mainly very humorous, like skits in between songs. And I gotta say, it was a really well done thing. And throughout the album, you kind of learn what's on Saba's bucket list. And it was just a really cool concept I really dug into. I was really excited. He released his album Care For Me over the summer, and I thought, this is really boring. This is really lazy. This is a shame. So I'm a little torn on Saba at the moment, but hopefully his newer stuff, when it does come around, as he is up and coming, so he has plenty more in store, I'm sure, will be a little better. But probably my favorite Saba song right now, at least at the time, is World in My Hands by Saba, featuring Smino and Legit. Let's give it a listen.
All right, and up next we have a wonderful little song called Sunshine by Atmosphere. This was a favorite of mine during freshman year, and I started listening to it again this summer. It's just an uplifting song, and it's kind of just about the progression of somebody's day, a little bit of a mood change from a little bit more negative to something incredibly optimistic. Pretty awesome for a rap song, so go ahead and give it a listen.
All right, Atmosphere, once again in a song, Sunshine. Definitely one of my favorites as well. Really like that whole album. But next up, we have In Between Us by Scarface featuring Nas. Two absolute juggernauts in the rap industry. However, one has plenty of fame and recognition, while the other has kind of remained in the shadows. But his influence has been monumental nonetheless, and that, of course, is Scarface. One of the probably the bigger and best rappers in the history of rap, yet not one of the bigger names, which is kind of strange. So once again, that's kind of how he fits into the underground portion of this. But once again, Scarface and his song In Between Us featuring Nas. I love that we have that little thing there by Open Mike Eagle. And little did you know, he released a new EP over the little break in between our shows. And it was called This Is What Happens When I Relax or something like that. Noah, do you remember? It was something along that lines.
I actually cannot remember. I apologize.
Anyways. Yeah, I mean, I listened to it. My quick thoughts were really just, yeah, this is really good. And then I kind of just moved on to the next song. Nothing really stood out as something I want to listen to again and again. Everything was just really good, but not really interesting. And that was kind of the running theme for this whole EP. So, yeah, it was just kind of there. Noah, do you have any thoughts on Open Mic in general? I know we talked about his album last year, and he's had a lot of contact with WSOE, which is great and all. Definitely fits the underground sound appeal, but anything else?
Yeah, I think Open Mike Eagle is definitely somebody who kind of doesn't want to be as mainstream as some of the bigger artists that are around that we hear today. I don't think he's going for that mainstream style. I think he's going for something that's definitely kind of localized, like something very much his own. Probably something like a sound that's very inspired from his area and where he's from. And I think he kind of channels that really well. He's been going at it for a while now, well over 10 years, right, Emerson?
Yeah,
and
he's making music for a while.
He's made good quality music. He's done that pretty consistently, and he's just very, very laid back. He's not really boisterous, kind of like exaggerated on anything. I really respect him as an artist, and like, while I don't really think about him that much whenever I do, I've always liked what I've heard, and I do respect how much he does try to reach out to, places like WSOE and just all the stuff in between. So I really like him.
Yeah. Well, one of the very first songs I ever listened by Open Mike Eagle is Dark Comedy Morning Show, which we have right here, and so we will play it. All right, so that will conclude with our music from Underground Sound. Next week, we will have our show promo, whether the station here likes it or not. We're going to get that thing together.
We will, and you'll be able to hear it because we are definitely going to flex by playing it over one of the other shows.
See, I don't know if you noticed, but we are required to play a certain amount of show promos, and that will be the only show promo we play.
We will promote ourselves on our own show.
The only one we will play. We've got things for Smitty's. We've got things for Goodwill. It's just all going to be for our show. We're taking everything out, and it's only going to be us. But yeah, that is what we have. Hopefully, we will be able to introduce a new segment we're working on. And yeah, that's really it for me. Noah, you got any closing thoughts or statements?
Thank you once again for listening to us. Next week, we will have a little bit of banter, some of that popular Emerson Noah back and forth.
Classic.
It's going to be on artists that we disagree with opinion-wise. So we'll probably focus on an album or two of those artists. But for example, I love Rick Ross. Emerson does not love Rick Ross.
Not like the boss.
We will have a debate as to why he deserves respect, why I do like him, and Emerson will retort back with his horrible, just terrible comments on all of his jaded findings, and I will roast him into oblivion.
I will bring on statistics to make it sound like my opinion is factual.
I will bring out statistics. I will. All right. So you will hear much about that, and that was just a little glimpse. But yeah, that's going to be a huge part of our show next week. We'll bring you so much more music to listen to as well. But for right now, that wraps up what I have to say.
All right. Well, I guess that's it then. I'm Emerson.
And I'm Noah.
We are Underground Sound, WSOE 89.3, Elon, North Carolina.
The only alternative.
Only alternative.